Hello, everybody. Thanks for being with us today. We are going to be talking about report cards, specifically Texas University report cards. This is so fascinating and really interesting for people who are making decisions on where to go to school and just really maybe even analyzing your own school. And we have Rebecca Rogers with ScholarShot to break down all this amazing information in the research that they've done. So Rebecca, go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody.
Hi, everyone. I am Rebecca Rogers. I am the Director of Data Intelligence at ScholarShot. And each year for the past 4 years, I have worked on and created a report card that grades all the public universities in Texas on how well they're engaging first generation students.
Now, what was the reason, the catalyst behind going ahead and doing this and creating this report card?
Yeah, so the report card was created when ScholarShot realized that there's a huge blind spot in education. That blind spot is getting students who've graduated from high school to productive careers that earn at least a livable wage. Students were either attempting post-secondary school and failing, or they were not attempting at all. Some recent data suggests that about less than half, so about 49% of students were attempting a post-secondary credential at all, and only 29% were actually completing.
That is an extremely low number when you just when you say that number. I had no idea that it was so low.
Yeah.
So this really, the report card does what? What do you want people to take away from this today?
Yeah, so the goals of the report card, there's three goals. First, we want higher education institutions in Texas to improve their engagement of first generation students. And we want them to collaborate more and see what the other schools are doing that are good, and maybe see what some of the downfalls are and work to improve the engagement of first generation students. The second one is for high school students, parents, counselors. We want them to use the report card to hopefully find a match for them, a good college match for them that has all of the supports that they need. And lastly, the third goal is to ultimately motivate our legislatures to alter their model of grant distribution from school demand to school performance.
Well, let me tell you what, motivating legislators is a big one. So that's impressive. I just want to make sure I pop those up for everybody. I think that's important to know. Okay, so let's talk about some specific data points that stick out. You sent over a lot of amazing information. I'm going to pop some of this stuff up. If you want me to skip on to another one, let me know. But we're going to begin here. And really, you've made it really simple. You're gathering all of this information, and you've put it down into essentially report card grades.
Yep.
And I'm popping this one up here. This is the overview. So let's talk about what you're doing and how you got to these numbers.
Absolutely. So we use about 2021 data points. Most of them are from our survey that we send out to the universities. The others are from the Department of Education data points. And we have 5 categories, which are student outcomes, community supports, academic engagement, financial management, and student services and interventions. And each of those categories have a few questions, 4 to 5 questions, and we combine each category is worth 20%. We combine them to create a grade for the students, for the schools. So it also breaks them down into categories, which I believe we will see next.
Yes, this right here?
Yes.
Okay.
So we take each of the categories and create a grade based on the scores in that specific category. So that students, if they want to look at a specific category that they're really worried about, then they can see how the schools were graded in those. So just a little bit about our categories. The first one is student outcomes. And this is the one that uses data directly from the Department of Education. For example, are students paying back their loans 5 years after completion? So that's the one that's really, really straightforward because it just comes directly from Department of Education. There's 5 questions in that category.
And that specifically is, so that has to do with if they're paying back money and like that sort of a thing.
So that's one of the questions. Yes, it's also
Okay.
graduation rates, anything that we think is really important for first generation students that can be gathered directly from the data that's already out there.
Okay. And so when I'm looking at, when I see red, obviously, anytime anyone sees red, they know
Right.
that could, use needs improvement, right? So
Correct.
when you're looking and comparing, and I know that people can find your past report cards at scholarshot.org, but when you're looking at this data, since you've been collecting it, what do you see? Do you see improvements? Do you see things getting better? Just out of curiosity.
So every year, some of the categories improve and some decline, unfortunately. What I always notice is financial management is a struggle for most universities. As you mentioned, yes, the red is if they scored below a 79% in that category. Orange is, 80 to 89%, and then green is above 90%. So, I mean, you can see kind of how they lay out. It's all pretty even. And, some schools score better in different categories.
And so one of the things you mentioned when you're talking about financial aspects, I'm going to pull up some of these graphs here. So what are you looking at and explain to people what we're looking at here when you see the words financial literacy?
Yeah, so this question is specifically about whether students require a financial literacy for students receiving loans. So this would be, ideally students must go through some kind of financial literacy, whether it's meeting with a financial advisor or taking an online course before they have to sign for their loans. Oftentimes, if this doesn't occur, students will just sign for their loans, not really realizing the debt that they could get into. I mean, as you can see, only 15% actually do require some kind of financial literacy.
And what category does that fall into the questions if I pop this graphic back up?
So that falls under financial management.
Okay, so really majority of people are needs improvement on that. So I see like University of Texas, Dallas, and University of North Texas. So they sort of stand out on offering that sort of a thing?
Yes, they stand out on their financial literacy, but you'll notice that even the highest score, and we do curve the grades, even the highest score is only 90%, whereas in the other categories, there's quite a few 100%. So basically no one, does all of the engagement that we would hope they would do in financial literacy.
And that has been one of the biggest points of contention for, I know, Dan Hooper, your founder of Scholarshot, for a long time.
Absolutely. And, debt is a huge issue nationwide, and obviously in Texas. So we're just trying, to reduce that debt by making sure students have all the information.
Okay, so let me pop up this next point here, the financial gaps tracked. What does this mean?
So financial gap is basically all of your loans or your financial package from the university plus your expected family contribution, how much your family is expected to pay. And so that is subtracted from the total cost of going to a university. And then there's this gap, typically for most students, even after financial aid and after how much their parents can give. And that's kind of, it's a problem. Obviously, the larger the gap, the harder it is for the student to fill it. So this is just asking whether the school is tracking financial gaps. Because if they're not tracking them, they can't do anything about it. They can't offer extra scholarships or, talk to them about work study if they don't know that they have a financial gap. So as you can see, the rates for only 20% actually track financial gaps, and even a lower percentage actually analyzes them.
That's insane to me. 20% only track it. That's it.
Yes.
Okay, and then that goes underneath the financial management category as well. Is that
Yes,
right?
that's also under financial management.
Okay, so that gives a kind of a great picture there for people who are watching to understand these are the types of questions that you're asking, and that's how you're categorizing them, and that is how they're getting the grade that they're getting.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I feel like if I can understand it, everyone will.
I hope so.
Yeah, I mean you're the numbers woman, but no, that makes complete sense. I'm going to pop this next one up here. Time limit for professors. What does that mean? Because that is a huge disparity right there.
Absolutely. So time limit for professor, all it means is that the university has a time limit for how long the professors have to return a quiz or a test. As you can see, only 5% of the universities that we surveyed have a time limit, and it's 2 weeks. If you don't have a time limit, a lot of times students, we've seen with our scholarship students, they don't get grades back for a month or even longer. And it's really hard to remediate in a class or potentially drop a class if you need to, if you don't know how you're doing.
Oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. And that's just not something that, as far as like oversight's concerned, that you're seeing a lot of, obviously.
No.
Okay, and so which category would that fall under when it comes to questions?
That is under academic engagement.
Okay, I see that. And I do see that University of Houston Victoria got a 100%. That's impressive.
Yes.
So would you say then, based on looking at these data points, and I'm just, asking here, if you were someone that needed that sort of, more one-on-one, you needed that accountability, would a place like University of Houston Victoria potentially be a spot because they do well with that?
Definitely. And, it's important to look at all aspects, but this is really a focus for, first generation students who will likely need some extra support, and also low income students who, need those extra financial support. So absolutely. University of Houston Victoria, if you're nervous about academics and how you're going to do, or maybe you don't feel prepared, that would be a good place for you to go because there's going to be more one-on-one support. Another one of our questions in academic engagement is we ask about the ratio of students to advisors. So, the smaller the number of students per advisor, the better. So that's another question we ask.
No, that's a great question. Let me pop this one up too. Dropouts in good standing. So what does this mean? Because when I hear dropouts and I hear good standing, it seems kind of a juxtaposition.
Yes. So we ask the schools what percentage of students drop out in good academic standing, or actually we ask them first if they track whether students are dropping out in good academic standing or basically failing out. And right now, only 45% even track that. I believe it's 45% track it.
Mm-hmm.
And even, fewer of those actually do anything about it. So, if you don't know why students are dropping out, then you're not able to remediate and hopefully counsel them back into school. So knowing, if they dropped out because of a financial issue, potentially getting an emergency grant or loan could help them. But if they don't have that information, there's no way for them to counsel them back in.
And I'm going back to our report card category detail. And again, that would fall under which one of these questions?
Sorry, what was it again?
We're looking at the data point of dropouts in good standing.
Oh, okay. Yes, sorry.
That's okay. No, there's a lot of graphics.
That goes under intervention. So
on the very end there, I see it.
Yes.
I almost missed it. Okay.
Yeah. The full title for that one is Student Services and Intervention. And it basically is asking about dropouts, probation, how they respond to probation, and then some questions about mental health as well.
I find this to be so fascinating. And I think it's good to mention too, if people are going, well, I don't see every school there. Let's talk about that. The university participation involvement, what that looks like for you all and from their end.
Absolutely. So every year we ask every single public university in Texas, which is there are 36 to participate in our survey. Every year, not all of them participate. And then when it comes to actually grading the schools and who makes the report card, we grade all the schools that participate, which this year was 20, and then only the ones who receive either an A or B make the report card. It's not that we're trying to punish the ones who don't. We really just want to highlight the positives, so that schools are looking to those that are doing well, and can also improve their practices.
And I'm popping up some of those schools again. And I guess why I do that, my question for you is, what are some of the reasons that schools don't respond to you? Because again, you are trying to focus it on the positive and not necessarily call out people.
Yeah, so I will say there's a few reasons that they do not participate. One, I know for a fact some of them don't participate because they say they're too busy. And for a fact that some of them don't participate because it is not a mandatory survey. I am also guessing that when schools, either don't make the report card and have participated in the past or don't like their score, that they may not participate the following year, which is really unfortunate, because we really are just trying to encourage the schools to do better.
Would you say then that some of these schools then should be commended for participating, for being transparent about what they have and potentially what they can improve on?
Absolutely. They should be commended for participating. And another, thing we do with all the universities that do participate, whether they make the report card or not, is we offer personal reviews after the report card comes out. We offer reviews, how they did, what are the positives, what are the negatives, and then we offer some action steps to help them hopefully engage their students more.
And so when someone's looking at this chart and looking at this sort of thing, let's say a student or a parent or someone who's thinking about, they've just graduated, they're not sure where to go, that sort of a thing. What would you encourage them when analyzing this, when they're looking at these data points?
Yeah, I would definitely encourage them to think about, think hard about what they're most concerned with for college, what is really important to them. Maybe they feel like they have the academics and financials under control and they want to make sure they have community support. Or perhaps, they're nervous about their academics, so they want a school that is really going to engage them academically. So I would decide, which category is the most important to you, and then look at the grades within those to really make the best decision for yourself. And obviously, this isn't an end-all, be-all. There's a lot of other things to consider when you're choosing a school, but we feel that this is really important to consider, especially for those first generation or low income students.
And you all would know, because at this point you have helped many graduate and on time and with not a bunch of debt.
Yes, absolutely. So I consider Scholarshot experts in this area.
100%. I would agree. I do want to mention too, I just want to point out the Gap app. I always like to do this, when we're wrapping up a different topic, because this is such a crucial part. It's very integral in what you all are talking about. Can you just mention to folks why this is so important? You're a numbers girl, you understand.
Yes. And this is another one of my big projects. The Gap app is an app that helps students find schools that are academically and financially good for them. It shows them any gaps they have financially or academically. So for example, you put in what your EFC is, your expected family contribution, and the app calculates your best case scenario, basically best case scenario with grants and loans, and then shows you what your gap is. So if that gap is high, it's red. If your gap is low or nothing, it's green. So it's supposed to just tell you really good fits for you. And they do the same academically using SAT and ACT scores.
Okay. And I know that if you check out ScholarShot social media pages. Just today, a review was posted from a student. Not to mention the fact and how easy it is to download. I popped up there. You can see the logo to look for in your app, or you can go. There's another way to find this as well. If you go into your app store, that's a great way to, you search Gap App by ScholarShot, correct?
Correct. Gap App by ScholarShot. And Gap App is all one word.
Okay, cool. Anything else before we wrap up that you want to make sure that people know? If I missed or skipped anything, I don't want to leave anything out.
I think we got a pretty good summary of the report card. I just want to stress how important it is for schools to improve their engagement of first generation students. Right now, the graduation rates of first generation students are pretty low, and definitely lower than the graduation rates for the other students. So I just want to hit home that this is just such an important topic to be discussing and for them to be improving.
And can people find the full report as well online?
Yes, if you go to the ScholarShot website, scholarshot.com, right? Is it
.org?
.org, scholarshot.org. You will
we get it.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry. You will see a tab that says report card, and you can get a lot more information there. We have an entire report you can download that walks through really how we created the report card and in detail what the different categories and what questions we ask under those categories. So yeah, absolutely go to scholarshot.org and check out the report card there. You can also manipulate the actual report card. So you can sort by best grade or by region. So that's really helpful as well.
All right, Rebecca, thank you so much. That was so insightful and very interesting. We appreciate it. And good luck to you then on all the fun new data collection points. I look forward to the next one. And I know it's going to be a minute, but it was a lot of fun.
Awesome. Thank you, Kara.
Okay, see you next time.